Hello, everybody. Welcome back here. Thank you for joining me, as always. And if you've seen some of these videos before, then, well, welcome back. If this is the first time, welcome. There's no accident that you're here, no accident at all. There's no such thing as coincidence, as you're most likely well aware from life, from stuff that you've experienced on the daily. You know, everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason why you're here. I mean, that is true everywhere we appear to go. So, welcome. What we're talking about today is a very central idea of this course that there is one mind. What appear to be 8 billion plus minds are joined. Minds are joined. So mind is unitary. It is singular. There's one mind. And in this wild world of ours, it appears that there are 8 billion plus separate minds because there appear to be 8 billion plus separate human beings. And that's not counting all of the additional life forms. Hmm, it's a lot. Multiplicity, it's an illusion. There is only perfect oneness. There's one mind. Incidentally, in dictating A Course in Miracles, Jesus is addressing this mind. He's not addressing you as a individual human being. What individual human being? He's addressing the mind. The mind that thinks it's split into multiplicity, that it carved itself off a little piece at the bar, separate from God, as if that's even possible. Oh, it's not. It's not. There is no separation of any kind. Doesn't mean you have to believe it. Doesn't mean it's, I'm fond of saying lately, I guess, that you don't have to run screaming through the halls, leaping for joy, ecstatic because there is no separation of any kind, whatever you may not believe that at all. And in fact, as we go through the workbook for students, understand that in giving this workbook, Jesus tells us, I mean, right up front, before lesson one, there are a few words given about the workbook and how we go about working on it, then he says you don't have to believe this at all. In fact, you may actively resist it. Just show up and do the exercises anyway. Now, that's very important as a learning device, isn't it? Think of our experience where we do things scared. If you've had success in the relationship arena in life, there was probably a time where you were terrified. You were terrified that this person who may now be your partner or your spouse was going to reject you when you asked them out on a date or something, or they weren't going to like you. They weren't going to like your jokes or laugh at them, right? They weren't going to appreciate your sense of humor or your shoes or that spot that you just noticed that you have on the shirt you're wearing. I don't know, right? All of the little things that we obsess about in life. Yet here you are, because you went through with that first date. I mean, that's just an example. In business, same thing. I mean, I think about it in our lives. A lot of what we call our successes, our breakthroughs, our growth moments take place when we have set aside our anxiety, which we're gonna feel. That's perfectly normal and natural, isn't it? Yeah, we think we're individual self-sustaining survival units. So to open up A Course in Miracles only to hear that there is no separation of any kind. In fact, everything we've now thought about who we are, who others appear to be, right, about the world itself is upside down, backwards, and wrong. How about that? I mean, that's going to necessarily produce some discomfort, isn't it? No problem. I mean, really, it happens. It's part of this, and there's nothing wrong with you if you're actively resisting this. Understand this. It is the ego, this false sense of self, this sense of individual I that we so adore and worship and adhere to and prostrate to and coddle and adore and worship and stuff, right? That is what resists. All resistance is of the ego. So if you're thinking this guy's completely nuts, great, no problem. If you think this course is a flat wrong and you're never going back to it again, okay, that's up to you, isn't it? Of course it is, right? This is an adult endeavor. It's spirituality. Understand, of course, that there are many doors. This is just one of many extant traditions here on Wobbling Spinning Ball of Rock. They all lead to the same place. Why? There is no separation of any kind. In other words, let's spell it out very directly. God is the only reality. Mm, yeah, how about that? There are very few of these multiple extant spiritual traditions on Wobbling Spinning Ball of Rock that will come right out and say that. When you see the two words, God is, followed by a period, and in common practice, accompanied by silence. God is. You're welcome to put in parentheses in your mind the only reality. Only God is. All else is illusion. There is no separation of any kind. You're not a body. God doesn't do bodies. A very oft-quoted line from A Course in Miracles is this: God knows not form. He does not know nor recognize 8 billion plus human bodies. It's not who we are. That you do know. You do know that because this is spirituality that you're interested in and that you've been practicing. Whether you've recently done anything in this lifetime or not, doesn't make any difference. Who cares, right? You have the inclination to have this find you at exactly the right moment, i.e., right now. Whatever time of day it is, whatever day of the week it is. I mean, these are pre-recorded, so you could be watching this several years from now and have it pop up on your screen for a reason. You need to hear this. There is no world. You're not a body. Isn't that exciting? Actually, when you begin to experience the truth of these things, it's quite exciting. Actually, it goes beyond that. Huh. Many of you have had this experience at one time or another. If you haven't, don't worry. Don't worry. All we're asked to do as we go through the workbook for students is take the idea and apply it, as Jesus suggests we do. That's it. We don't have to believe it. We don't have to accept it. In fact, we could actively resist it. Just take the idea, apply it. That's all that's asked of us. So we should each, in theory, be able to do that with relative ease in theory, right? In practice, we see the depth of our own resistance, don't we? I mean, for sure we do, right? So, lesson 18 is I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. Minds are joined. It's an idea that we'll come back to again. In fact, Jesus tells us in the commentary here on lesson 18 of the workbook that, yeah, we're going to come back to that. Just know for right now, there's one mind. Looks like there are 8 billion minds. We say, oh, yeah, my mind, her mind is so messed up. His mind is, well, what's he thinking? Boy, is that dude ever delusional? Right? We say things like that to ourselves. We use stronger language than that, and we use profanity in our own mind when we lash out and judge people as being completely wrong and stuff, right? Insert other language. I mean, by all means, feel free. We all do it on the daily. So, yeah, that's what we go about and we do. But there's one mind. Minds are joined. And this idea today is not so much about what we see as it is about how we see it. So we practice it by saying, I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see geopolitics, to name one of many possible examples. I'm not alone in experiencing the effect of how I see bodies. That's for sure, right? I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see money. Or you can use anything that pops to mind as an example. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see clouds. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see the sky, or whatever it is. Anything that pops to mind is perfectly appropriate. And we put the idea into practice just as it's suggested. And incidentally, these earlier workbook ideas, if you're going through this or you've been through it or you're going to do it, right, whatever category you fall in there, doesn't matter. These early workbook ideas don't take that much time. Well, that's quite by design. I mean, Jesus wouldn't get a lot of people actually practicing this, and he doesn't anyway, right? But he'd get even fewer if he said, yeah, okay, well, we're going to sit down and we're going to do an hour's worth of silent meditation on lesson one. Quiet, right? No, he wouldn't do that. They don't take much time. What many people find the practical challenge to be is in remembering to do them. There are people that set alarms on their phones or have some form of a system to remind them to do these practice periods. I mean, I will tell you, it's very common to forget them. The first time I ever went through the workbook for students, there are 365 lessons, and I would say there are probably 40 to 50 days in there that first time that I went through it, where I read about the day's idea. I maybe practiced it once early in the morning, which is what the habit is for me anyway. That's every time I do this. There's a morning lesson. And then there were, 40 to 50 days where I didn't even think about the workbook again until the following day. I realized, oh, I didn't do that one. Yeah, maybe I'll just go through that again. And if that's the case for you, that's quite common. It's mind training, and our minds are untrained, right? I mean, we're much too tolerant of mind wandering, another line from A Course in Miracles, where Jesus says, "You're much too tolerant of mind wandering." Yeah, but we're distracted. We don't remember things. And even if you feel like you're doing pretty well in that category relative to the people that you work with or your family members or your neighbors or people in your community or whatever, right? We still forget things all of the time. So that's part of this process. And in fact, it's part of doing this workbook. When you recognize that you've forgotten the day's idea, forgive yourself. Did you ever try that? Try it. It's part of the process. I mean, nobody ever said that completely changing your mind, which is what this course is about, was going to be easy because we've become so entrenched in our way of seeing things, in our way of thinking about ourselves, in our way of thinking about what we think are other people and about what we think is the world, right? All of that, we've become so entrenched, i.e., indoctrinated, if you prefer, into this way of thinking that we think it's correct, and anything that says otherwise is very highly likely to be met with resistance, isn't it? So the fact that you may be experiencing that is part of this process. It very much is part of this process. And it does not mean that there is anything at all wrong with you. Just keep showing up, forgiving anything that is less than wholly joyous, right? Anything that's not completely rapturously joyous, 100% is an opportunity to forgive. So even something that we would deem, yeah, fairly trivial, maybe, right? Slightly annoying. It's an opportunity to forgive. Something that enrages us, geopolitics, our government, or whatever, right? Wherever it is you live, there's something. Yeah, it's an opportunity for forgiveness. What are we doing? We're forgiving the mind's miscreation. Looks like there are 8 billion plus minds. We've managed to convince ourselves of that. But in fact, mind, singular, is joined. There is one mind. One mind. We'll come back to that idea multiple times. So, thank you as always for tuning in and joining me. I welcome questions here, so please feel welcome to leave them here. This comment thread on YouTube's an excellent place to do that. And also, please go ahead and subscribe. This is the subscription prompt, this arrow that you see over here in the corner of your screen. Click that, hover over that, subscribe, join us. It is an international community. People are literally here from all over the world, which is very cool. And I appreciate your time and the effort that you're putting into your spiritual practice, whatever that looks like. And even if you think, man, I could really do more of that, okay, well, great. Whatever you remember to do is of great value, and we all appreciate it, even though most people aren't going to say, thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. It's very critically important, and you do know that. So you get to hear it. It's critically important. So thank you. And I will see you again here on the next video. Several of these appear each week. Okay? See you soon.